Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk to you about how to get started with running. Perhaps you've been thinking about getting started but aren't sure where to start, or perhaps you've been feeling a little bit intimidated by the thought. I want to share my 10 tips and hopefully by the end of the video you'll be ready to lace up and get yourself out there. Tip number 1, start off slow with intervals. And when I say slow, I really do mean slow. Start off by walking for a minute and then jogging for a minute, and keep doing that in cycles. When you feel comfortable to move on, walk for 1 minute and then jog for 2 minutes, and keep on going and increase your game that way. As you improve, perhaps you'll be jogging for a minute and running a bit faster for a minute, and so on and so forth. When I'm doing this kind of training, I download an app and use an interval timer on my phone. That makes it really easy to know when to stop without having to look at your phone every 2 seconds. This really is a great way to get started without putting too much pressure on yourself. Tip number 2, find a local running club. I think this is a great idea for people that just want to get going and aren't really sure where to start. If you join a local running club, you're going to find all sorts of like-minded people with a spectrum of abilities, from beginners such as yourself to expert runners that get out there and run for miles and miles and miles. Most of these places are going to be quite friendly as well, and so it's a great way to motivate each other, especially with times of year where it's cold and dark and perhaps you don't feel comfortable running on your own outside. An added benefit is the social events that most of these clubs will have. Christmas parties, Halloween parties and that kind of thing. So if you want to get a bit more social and get fit at the same time, a running club could be the thing for you. Tip number 3, set yourself a goal. This could be anything. Many people set themselves a goal of wanting to run 5k for the first time. You may just want to run around your local park. What I would say with setting a goal, set something that you can't obviously do yet, but you're going to feel great about when you do finally achieve it. If you're so inclined, set yourself multiple goals. Perhaps you say, okay, I want to be able to run 5k in 3 months and then 10k in 6 months, and keep on going, don't stop. When you reach an objective, keep yourself motivated, set yourself additional goals as you improve. Tip number 4, track your progress using an app like Strava. There are plenty of other apps out there. I personally use Strava and think it's great. I use it largely to track my progress over time. I'm a big fan of actually being able to go back and look at previous runs that I've done. It's also great for being able to see your progress, and you motivate yourself by seeing how much you've improved over a long stretch of time. Now, do remember that everybody has good days and bad days, so don't expect every run to be faster or longer than the one before. Just go at your own pace and keep yourself motivated. Another thing you can do on the app is actually follow people, a bit like Facebook. To be honest, I don't really use that functionality. I use it largely just to monitor my own progress and see how well I'm doing. Tip number 5, use an app like Couch to 5k. Now this particular app is excellent, and it's the one that I'm familiar with, largely because my wife has used it. But I have spoken to plenty of other people that have used it and found it hugely motivating and rewarding for them. Basically, the goal of the app is to get you running for 30 minutes over a 9-week period. And you have a selection of different trainers that you have on the app that will guide you through. Well, I have to say, from personal experience, I've seen people that have managed to run 5k whilst using the app and then have gone on to 10k's, half marathons and even marathons. It really is a great way to get started. Tip number 6, do not compare yourself to anybody else. There is always going to be somebody faster, somebody stronger, somebody that can run longer and all of that stuff. Your running should be about you. You don't need to compare yourself to anybody else. It's about your self-improvement and your journey. Enjoy it as much as you can. Don't get yourself bogged down with comparing yourself to other people. And this, to be honest, is appropriate for all aspects of our lives. We don't need to be going through comparing ourselves to anybody else, because at the end of the day, our life, our journey is about us. Remember, rejoice in your own progress and forget about everybody else. Tip number 7, do not care what you look like or what you think others may perceive of you. Now, this one can be a real stumbling block for some people. Now, I've talked to people that really want to go for a run, or they want to go to the gym. They feel too self-conscious because of perhaps they feel that they're overweight, or they need to get fit before they can get fit. Really, do get over this. Don't worry about what people may or may not think of you. If I was to see an overweight person pounding on the pavement, to be honest, I look at them and think, fair play, they're trying to do something about it. There's a lot more positivity in the world that the media and everybody else would have us believe. If you really can't face being in front of anybody, then get up and go early doors. I tend to go running at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, basically because I want to get it out the way before I start my day. Now, I can tell you from my experience, there is hardly anyone around at this time. So get up early, lace up and get out there early doors before the rest of the world. Tip number 8, get yourself a pair of decent running shoes. Get yourself down to a local running store and get your gait analysed. What they'll do in store is get you running on a treadmill whilst they video you running. And what they'll do is be able to analyse exactly how you're striking the ground, what kind of stride you have. This will enable them to identify the shoes that are going to be most appropriate for your foot. When I first started running, I just had a normal pair of trainers and went out there. And what I did find is that I started getting knee problems and calf problems, and all of these things started to clear up once I got myself a decent pair of shoes. Tip number 9, don't overtrain. Now, if you start running, it can be sometimes easy to get caught up in the running bug and want to go every day, 2 times a day, and all of this. Now, the danger you have with that is suffering an injury, and that's the last thing you want to do, putting yourself out of action just as you're starting. What I would say, in the beginning, go once or twice a week and get yourself started. Feel free to increase that momentum as you get further along, but give your body some time to adapt before you start straining it too much. Tip number 10, warm up and cool down. Now, at risk of being a nag and one of your old gym teachers, this really is important. Warming up means that you're going to be more supple when you first start running, you're less likely to pull a muscle or something like that as you get going, and cooling down really makes a huge difference on how quickly you recover. I, for one, can definitely tell the difference. If I, for whatever reason, don't cool down, I'm a lot stiffer the next day. With all of these things, you really want to minimise your risk of injury, and again, this is one of those things that really does reduce the risk of it. I spend about 5 minutes warming up. Some people may argue that that's not enough, but it works for me. Cooling down, it really does depend how long I've been out for. I generally cool down between 10 to 20 minutes. Usually, my method is yoga, but you can do some static stretches or in some cases dynamic stretches. One simple way to get the cool down process started is actually walking home for the last 200 to 500 meters or so and just cool everything down without coming to a hard standstill straight away. Finally, just have a good time with your running. Get started. There's no better time than the present. I, for one, have found it a transformative process and really quite addictive, to be honest. I love my running and I can't imagine life without it now. But you can only get to that point after you start. So lace up and get out there. If you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe and click here to see more.